Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we are going to take a look at the numerology of Pluto dipping into Aquarius from March 23rd, 2023, through June 2023. Now, I know that, there's plenty of resources out there that address this and what to expect, but I wanted to, again, sort of look at the energy with the numerology because I find it kind of interesting what's being highlighted. So I want to share that with you, and then I will also break it down for each life path number so that you can kind of understand what you might expect on a more sort of concentrated personal level with these energies. So Pluto's stay in Aquarius for the next couple of months anyway will give us a taste of what we may further expect or what might be highlighted when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius for its more lengthy stay of 20 plus years, which will begin March 2024. So this sort of grand entrance on March 23rd, 2023, highlights the energies of the 15-6 collectively. So we'll all feel this influence to some degree, even if it's more subtle. Because again, this is a lengthy stay. Pluto moves very, very slowly. And so the effects are not typically felt right out of the gate, although sometimes it can be. But a lot of times it's more progressive, right? But we will all feel this change and transformation because Pluto signifies death, transformation, rebirth, right? So whatever it touches, it's going to transform in some significant way. And so in the case of numerology, it's touching or highlighting the energies of the 15-6. So when we look at or break down the energies of the 15-6, we have the energies of the 1, the 5, and the 6. So the 1 is going to bring into focus independence, autonomy, self, the power back to the individual, right? Transformation, change in, again, shifting the power back to the individual. Taking responsibility for our own life and the direction of it, right? Taking an initiative, being more assertive and more direct within our communication of what it is that we need and what we will or will not tolerate, right? What it is that we will sort of compromise on or not compromise on, and what we won't sacrifice for when it comes to what we need in order to thrive. The 1 energy is going to influence or sort of bring into focus stepping outside of our comfort zone, taking appropriate risks to create a better way of doing things, not just for self necessarily, but for the good of all. So being assertive, taking those risks, taking the initiative, again, to come up with resources, solutions for the greater community. The 1 energy can emphasize confidence in finding our voice and using it. Less control from the external or not accepting control from the external, and bringing the focus back to control within our own lives and our destination. We can see shifts around the 1 energy in how we own our own space and how we show up in the world, honoring our own unique identity and our own unique contributions. We'll be asked with this energy to take responsibility for those actions and take accountability for how our actions affect the all. Now, the 6 energy emphasizes emotions and how we work with those charged energies, taking responsibility for working with them and managing how we express them, using that energy for good rather than destruction and separation. Now, again, emotions are such a hot topic because people immediately, when you say control your emotions or manage your emotions, people immediately want to jump to suppression or avoidance. And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is working with your emotions in a very healthy way so that you're not expressing them in a destructive way, right? You can work with, honor, acknowledge your emotions without sort of directing them or expressing them in a way that causes harm to self or others. So there may be more of an emphasis on emotions, where for so long, emotions for women, men, have been really sort of taboo and suppressed, right? For women, if you're emotional, you're hysterical, right? You're out of control and you're not taken seriously. For men in society, if they express emotions, they are weak, right? And of course, I'm not talking about like anger and that sort of thing. For whatever reason, we've become a society that respects expressing anger and violence and all those things. And so I think there's probably going to be a shift where we start respecting having greater control and management of those emotions rather than letting the emotions control us, right? It's so much healthier for self and others when we can manage and work with that very charged energy in a healthy way. And the 6 energy being highlighted puts emphasis on that. I expect there to be, with this 6 energy, more emphasis on the energy of the divine feminine. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about divine feminine energy, divine masculine energy, or feminine energy, masculine energy. This has nothing to do with gender. This is the energy, right? How we express that energy. So keep that in mind as we move through this. I know that if you listen to my channel, you already are aware of that, but I'm just putting that out there. So with the 6, I do expect to see a greater emphasis on the energy of the feminine. So more receptivity, more compassion, more empathy, less focus on striving, and more focus on work-life balance. Because right now, there's definitely an imbalance there. It's more about, how much you can do and how often and what your success rate is and all of those things. There's much more emphasis on the end goal and striving to get there. And I think there will be a shift there where, in one way or another, the focus sort of balances out and we start looking at, again, that work-life balance, the sort of honoring the holistic need for rest and rejuvenation, more balance and harmony rather than separation and man-made boundaries, right? So we may see less borders and more unity, figuratively speaking, but also literally. We might see sort of borders between countries open up and get less sort of strict or rigid, where it's much easier to cross borders and, experience different cultures and experience living in another country without major restrictions type thing. And so much less about, this is like ownership, like this is mine, so you can't have it type thing, right? And it's like, more openness when it comes to, just resources and, again, sharing wisdom and knowledge and all of these things that to some degree do have a level of restriction, right? There's definitely very strong man-made boundaries, whether you agree with it or not, that separate countries, right? Individuals, peoples, community, etc. And I think that with the emphasis on the 6, there's going to be much more about the greater community. So a greater coming together. So lessening of those borders. Again, whether you like it or not, this is the energy that's being highlighted. And so again, it will hopefully, or at least the goal of the energy would be, of the 6, right? is to bring people together, to work together more and be less divided. And so that brings into focus man-made boundaries and alleviating them or lessening them in some way to, again, find balance. I believe under the sixth energy, we'll see a deeper understanding of the needs of others. And again, the greater community, taking into account other perspectives, other ideas. This is a big one. And this is something that we're not very good at. We try to be, but it's definitely something that needs to come into balance, right? And I think the energy of this, Pluto highlighting this sixth energy is going to bring that into the focus. Now, the 5 brings the change, brings the transformation, brings the unconventional ideas. And so one of those things would be like if you felt sort of some kind of emotional charge about me talking about man-made boundaries and, countries opening their borders more and being a little bit more open with that. This is an unconventional idea, right? I mean, other people have had it, obviously, but it's like one of those things where it's outside the box. It's outside the norm. It's outside of the way that we've always done things. And so the 5 energy is going to ask us to think differently, to do differently, come up with those unconventional ideas and then do something with them to assist in merging the energies of the 1, which is more masculine energy of action, self-giving, with the more feminine energies of the 6, receptivity, stillness, compassion. Pluto in Aquarius has the potential over the next 20 plus years to lessen the gap between the divine feminine energies and the divine masculine energies, to create greater balance and harmony in how we honor self and how we honor others in a more elevated way. So we hear a lot of people talking about the rise of the divine feminine, and really what the potential is that the focus or the emphasis on the masculine energy will start to lessen as the feminine energies begin to rise, and they will meet somewhere in the middle, right? Balancing those energies, because if we have too much of either, it's imbalance, it's disharmony. And so the goal, and Pluto is always, the goal of Pluto is to come in, dismantle, and then force rebuilding of something for it to become more spiritually elevated, to step into a higher octave, right? So where there is imbalance, Pluto will come in and sort of rip it apart, break it back down to its core, and force us to rebuild in some way. But the goal, though it can be challenging when we're in it, is to get us to collectively a higher octave, right? A higher consciousness, an elevated state of being. So it completely makes sense, given the imbalance between the feminine and the masculine energies, that Pluto would come in and put a focus on this in the age of Aquarius, which again is unconventional thinking, doing things differently, taking into consideration self and all. So big energies that we're working with here for the next 20 plus years. And I will say that change does not happen without resistance. So we can expect, with 5 energy, we can expect the unexpected. When it comes to those not ready or willing to meet in the middle, some people do thrive off of separation and won't give in easily. But Pluto is a relentless energy, and so is the energy of the 5. So though it will probably, likely be slow and progressive and not without chaos and conflict, when, this transit is over, we'll likely see greater balancing of these energies collectively than we have ever seen, in thousands and thousands of years throughout history. I certainly hope so anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at how these energies may affect each life path number. Life Path 5, you all are in the spotlight. This is such a big emphasis on 5 energy. And so this is your time to shine over the next 20 some years, right? So unconventional thinking, doing things different, dancing outside your comfort zone, expressing yourself in a very creative way, no matter if it's, been done before or not. And preferably it hasn't. This is absolutely over the next, 20 some years to really step out of your shell and really just share your gifts in a really big, unique way that feel very authentic for you. What's beautiful about this is 5s are also working with the energy of the 11 too. So this is the inspirational leader. This is taking your big inspirations and doing something with them, saying yes to what inspires you and no to what doesn't, because to be the inspirational leader, you have to do what inspires you. If you're doing what sucks your energy away and what uninspires you, then you can't possibly inspire others, right? So the key here for 5s is to use your big 5 beautiful energy and do those things that light you up, that really, ignite your spirit, that bring you joy, that, ignite your inner child. And just bring you and others joy. And in doing that, you by default become the inspirational leader. So this is incredibly beautiful energy for the next 20 years for you all. Now, this can also bring in some tests, right? 11-2 energy in a cycle can be testing. It can be challenging, but it's because it's pushing you to change and transform, right? It's moving you in a direction that is meant to elevate you, right? And change is not easy. It creates tension, it creates pressure, and until we can find the way to alleviate that pressure, it can feel uncomfortable. So for you all, wherever it is in life that you are sort of out of balance, you could see a lot of pressure in that area to get you back into balance. Now with 5 energy, a lot of times 5s can fall into extremes, right? Over restrictive energy, being overly confined, or the opposite of living in excess, addictions, just burning the candle at both ends type thing, or being scattered, or being too focused, right? So the energy of the 11-2 is going to bring balance or push you to find balance. So pay attention to where it is that you feel the discomfort in the next 20 or so years, because that's where the transformation is taking place and that's where it's meant to take place. So you may see that come up. The other thing is to become more decisive. So making sure that you're not easily influenced by external forces, but that you are, following your own intuition and making decisions and being decisive and sticking with those decisions long enough to see some kind of reward or some kind of, see it come to fruition. A lot of times 5s can get really excited about something, start it, and then not see the gratification from it right away and then give up on it. And so you just want to make sure that, especially over the next 20 years, that, you're sort of taking some time to see, is this something that I want to invest into, right? My time, my energy, my resources. If it is, then go for it, right? But don't give up on it too easily, because it's easy for 5s to get bored with whatever it is that they start sometimes, especially if they're not seeing some kind of constant transformation or evolution with whatever that is. And that's not always possible, right? So just be mindful of that. Where you invest your energy, where you're focusing your energy. This can also bring in the need for focus, right? So if your energy's been really scattered, this energy can help you to get more focused and see different perspectives, but also focus your energy so it's not so scattered, right? So again, coming into moderation, coming into balance, which is so needed for 5 energy. So the fact that the next 20 years is really asking you to do that really assists you in stepping into your 5 energy. So incredibly beautiful energy. This could also be a very collaborative time. So figuring out how to work with others as well as being independent, but holding space and being open to being interdependent as well especially in your creative endeavors, I think is going to be key for you all. So I hope this is a beautiful period for you all. And thanks so much for listening. Take care, fives. Bye for now.